welcome to the Conrad Homestead. So today I'm going to be sharing how I make apple butter. I do my recipe slightly different because I make mine in the pressure cooker. So I want to share with you guys just an alternative. If you guys have a pressure cooker and you want to try making apple butter, this is the way I do it. Now I know that there's more fancier ways of doing it, and I know this recipe can also be done in a crock pot. And to be honest, I have a crock pot buried somewhere in my workshop, but I hardly ever use it. I do my main cooking in my pressure cooker. In case you have a pressure cooker and you want to make this recipe, it is so easy. It's a long process, but it's a series of small things, and to be honest, a lot of it is just more wait time. The apples that I'm using in the video, one of our neighbors gave us. There's an apple orchard like right across the way. She was so sweet. She came over with a bushel of apples, and I've made apple butter using those apples before, and my family loves it. So I know that there are better apples, and I will add that in the description below on what's the best apples, but I've heard that actually an assortment of apples, different apples, is the best. So I'm just gonna use the ones that my neighbor gave us. So this is definitely like a lazy girl's recipe. I love it. One time I water bathed a whole bunch of them, and my family ate it so fast that it was almost like pointless. So this time I may or may not water bathe some of them because my family just really likes them. Just eat it up because it's so delicious. It's almost like a dessert with breakfast. That's kind of the way we see it. So hopefully you guys like this recipe, so join me. Let's get cooking. So for this recipe, you need 5 pounds of apples. The general rule is 1 pound of apples is equal to 4 small apples, 3 medium apples, or 2 large apples. On average, I would say these are rather large apples. So 2 large apples equal 1 pound. So for 5 pounds, I would need about 10 apples. There's about 11 apples here because these are kind of the bottom of the barrel. There are some ugly spots in these. So this is gonna take a little bit more apples. I do have a large tote full, so I'm not really concerned about running out of apples, and I'll just cut and add them here. I know this is a fillet knife. My father-in-law always rebukes me when he sees me using this knife, but to be honest, this is my favorite knife, and so I use it for all purposes. But like I said, I know I'm using the wrong knife. And I'm just gonna make sure that there's no ugly blemishes that I don't want in my apple butter, and then from here I'm just gonna cut it like in 4s. And so I'm going to try to cut it as close to the core as possible. If you have a peeler or one of those ones that cuts it for you, hey, use it. The easier the better. The core I'm going to go ahead and add for my chickens into the chicken buckets. I'm going to cut them into like 1-inch squares. I will be adding these to the blender later. If they're a little bigger, it's not that big of a deal. And so I'm going to do this to all my apples. I won't record me cutting all the apples. You get the general idea. This is the most tedious part about it. This is probably the part that I like least. Now that I have everything cut, I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to add 1.5 cups of white sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar. All of these measurements will be in the description below. Then I'm going to add 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. Now I'm doing vinegar instead of lemon juice. 1 teaspoon of salt. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. It is optional to have 1 teaspoon of allspice or ground cloves. I don't have any, so I'm going to go ahead and just do without. And then 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/2 cup of water. I'm going to go ahead and just give everything a little bit of a spin. Now it's time to set it. Okay, from here I'm gonna go ahead and set it for 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes are over, I'm gonna go ahead and release the pressure. Guys, already it is smelling so delicious in here. It smells like Thanksgiving and pumpkin pie in here. It smells so good. So the reason why we went ahead and set it for 5 minutes and then set it a longer time is because we wanted to start releasing all the juices and kind of speed it up to that point. So let me show you guys what it looks like inside. So this is what is inside. Now it's kind of hard to see. All kinds of juices. See that? Oh, it's so yummy. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mix this all up real good. From the bottom, just making sure everything is evenly coated. Next, I'm gonna put the lid back on. I'm gonna cook it on low temp for 10 hours. Now you can leave this uncovered. I have seen a few different recipes that they cook these 10 hours on low without a lid. I like to add the lid just because where I live is in the country, and to be honest, there's bugs and there's kids and there's dirt and all kinds of stuff. And in the RV, there's not really like a safe spot that I can put it. So I put the lid back on and cook it. All right, so this is actually the next day, and this has been cooking for a total of 10 hours. And now we're gonna do the big reveal. I'm super excited about it. There it is. Oh, doesn't that look so yummy? Look at that. Oh my goodness. So now what I'm gonna do is actually add part of this into a blender. Now if you had an immersion blender, that will definitely speed up the process and it would be easier. I have one somewhere in a box. Allison, my good friend, she gave one to me. I was so grateful. I put it in a box and I can't find it. So I have done it a couple times in the blender. The only bad part is it doesn't all fit in the blender at once. So I'm gonna do this in segments. I'm just gonna move this to the side. Bring over the blender. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this mixture. And I have noticed it's about half that fits inside of the blender. So I'll go ahead and start this one, and then the rest of it, so I will go ahead and add this part to a bowl. That way, as I'm done with the blender, I can put it back into the pressure cooker. All right, and what you're left with is a super yummy, rich mixture. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cook this in the pressure cooker for an additional 2 hours. And what that does is it really begins to bring out and make it thicker. Now, like I said, I don't like to leave it uncovered. So the alternative that I came up with one time is to give it a top. Yep, I cook it with my colander. I found out this works really well. It fits right on top of my pressure cooker and it gives it a good cover. I'm sure it would cook a lot better if it didn't have the colander. Like I said though, I just have fears of bugs and things getting in there, so this is my added protection. Check it out. It is just beautiful and brown, and it is thick. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do from here is add it to my jars. Go ahead, Lever, let's test it out.
That's pretty good.
You rip it in half. This makes working on right with the shop worth it.
So guys, how is it? How would you rate it?
1 million out of 10. All I know is it's good. I can't describe the goodness.
So that is how I make apple butter. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. And hopefully this teaches you how to do it, or at least give you ideas on how to do it in the pressure cooker. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please like and subscribe.